everyone, welcome back. This is week 30 of my social isolation get ready with me's. I'm going a little bit Halloween themed today, but I don't think the makeup is going to be, with my Camp Crystal Lake t-shirt from the Friday the 13th series. I got it a few years ago though, so it's probably not available anymore. But this week we are using the Too Faced Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. I put this one up against the Swamp Queen palette by Tarte, which are both really old palettes, and this one barely won, but this is one of my favorite palettes and I can't wait to use it today. When this palette first launched, I bought a backup pretty quickly, kept it for a few years, maybe it wasn't even a few years, kept it for maybe a year, and then very quickly realized that I was never going to be panning this palette. I haven't even shown the inside yet. So Too Faced Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. There's the inside. This is by far, I think, their best 9-pan palette that they've ever done. It just has a lot more like variety in here, because generally this side here ends up being all of like this top color, but with this they actually have more of a white shade, and then there's a gold that's really pretty. So like I was just saying, when I initially bought that palette, I loved it so much that I went and bought a backup, and then quickly realized that I was just not going to be finishing this palette anytime soon, and I really didn't need a backup. Sadly, it's of course since been discontinued. Like apparently all their 9-pan palettes are. I don't think that's not true. I was gonna say, I don't think they sell them anymore, but they do have the Natural Eyes and the Natural Matte palette in the 9-pan format, but they're larger looking palettes now. Too Faced has definitely slowed down on a lot of their collections. There's not nearly as much coming out as there used to be. They did just launch their holiday stuff, which is yet another rehash of previous years. I ended up not being into the pumpkin spice palette that they put out, which is fine. Disappointing, but fine. I don't need to spend my money on it kind of thing. And the one thing I did really like though is that mini palette in the salted caramel one that I tried out a few weeks ago. Loved that thing to death. Okay, so for this look we're going to start out with Spread the Love, and I'm just going to put that on a fluffy brush and put that directly through my crease. This is not much of a color. It's just a very light tinge of peach. Does this still smell? Yeah, a little bit. Not very strong. It's definitely not one of the most pungent scented palettes that Too Faced has, but it still has a little bit of a peanut butter-esque scent. It's not very peanut buttery. It's more like a lightly nutty scent. And then as another crease color, I'm just going to layer below Spread the Love. I'm going to take Peanut Butter, which is the entire namesake for this palette. I think everybody's mostly aware, but Peanut Butter was in the semi-sweet chocolate bar palette that Too Faced has also discontinued. But that was my favorite chocolate bar palette, and this was a very popular color, so they took the shade and expanded on it with this Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. So I met up with a few friends this week, very socially distant in the park. Just caught up with sets of friends really. And I gotta say, the one common thread is that no one is having an easy time right now. I know sometimes we look at like social media and other people's lives and we just assume that everything is happy-go-lucky for them and we're the ones that are struggling right now. Let me tell you, that is not the case. Literally, everybody is having problems right now. And everyone's problems and situations are completely unique, which doesn't make anybody else's problems more significant than anybody else's. How you handle things and how you deal with things is very much affected by your worldview and what you're going through. And there's that saying, I think I said this to a friend recently, about be kind to everyone because you don't know what they're going through. And honestly, that could not be more true now than ever. Some people are very willing to spread information about how they're doing in situations that they're going through, which is fine. Everybody handles situations differently. And some people say absolutely nothing and you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And it just is worth repeating that everyone's struggles are very different. And even if you think somebody has a very easy life, because that's what they portray, that is more than likely not the case behind the scenes. And I'm not saying there aren't people out there with great lives who are handling everything perfectly, but I would say that the bulk of people are struggling right now. Okay, crease colors are on. I love that peanut butter color. Like, it's just perfection as far as I'm concerned. For the lid, I'm going to take Bananas. on a flat shader brush and just, no, that's not what I was gonna do. I had another plan for this. I always end up putting bananas on the lid and I'm like, no, Shell, you're gonna do something different. Okay, so I'm taking peanut brittle and I'm gonna put that all over the lid. There we go. I'm glad I remembered before I screwed it up because I always default to putting bananas on the lid because it's such a good gold shade. I don't tend to love gold eyeshadow in general, but there's something about the tone of this one that's really, really pretty on the lid. But anyway, I'm putting peanut brittle on today. And then I'm going to take Nuts About You and put that on the outer corner, but I don't think it's going to be dark enough, so we're going to go in with the brown afterwards. Yeah, that's not adding too much for this. But I'll repeat it on the other side just to make sure it matches. And then I'm going to take Peanut Buttercup over here, which I'm hoping is going to be dark enough, and put that right on the outer corner. Just a little bit of dimension there. For my brow bone highlight shade, I'm just going in with Extra Creamy. And I am going in with some wing liner for this look, and of course I'm using my Physicians Formula Eye Booster. Okay, we'll finish up the eyes after we do the face makeup, and I'm just sticking with my Inglot Beautifier Cream right now because I think it's the only thing that I really have that matches me at the moment. This is in the shade 103. So I also had my friend Julie over this past week. She's the only person that's actually in my bubble. Everybody else I see at a distance. So I had Julie over because it was her birthday last week, or during the week rather. And honestly, we just, at this point, just get together, have a charcuterie board, some wine, and watch movies. And we wanted to watch some Halloween movies, and I was like, okay, well, what's on Netflix that's like kind of new? So we tried to watch Hubie Halloween, which Adam Sandler is in it, and I should have just known better to like skip it. I think we made it 20 minutes in and we were both like, what are we doing? This is not our humor. Like, this dude is just not our type of comedy. I don't know why Adam Sandler has to do this weird, like, stilted voice every time he's in a movie. It's like this half man baby type voice mixed with like pure idiocy. Like, I don't know what else to call it. And it's just, not only is it hard to understand, first of all, but it also is just, why is that his character in every movie? Like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, he always plays this guy with like this weird voice. So anyway, we made it 20 minutes, gave up, and turned on Jigsaw, which is, I think, the latest Saw movie. And Saw is very torture porn, but we couldn't figure out what to call it initially. We kept calling it gore porn, and I'm like, okay, that is not the right word. And my husband walked by and he's like, do you mean torture porn? We're like, oh yes. So Saw, it can be pretty grisly if you're not into that kind of stuff. But I will say that they toned it down definitely for Jigsaw, and I think I read something saying that they wanted it to be less torture porn and more psychological. So the new movie is, I mean, it's still grisly, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely less of that kind of like super intense, just gory kind of horror movie. And I really liked it. I mean, I loved the first Saw movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but that scene at the end, I just remember being like, what? And I don't think they've ever really managed to get me like that again. And the series definitely took a path where it was very just like inflicting pain on people. But this most recent movie was definitely a lot more interesting. I mean, it's not even that new. It's from like 2017, so it's not like it's just recently launched. But I hadn't watched a lot of Saw movies in recent times just because they became just a little bit too ridiculous for me. But Jigsaw was pretty good. I would recommend it if you do like horror movies and can take a little bit of that torture porn type stuff. My mom watches these videos and she's gonna be like, what the heck are you watching? Okay, foundation on, just keeping it super simple with my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I just want to finish this sucker up. Like, it's almost there. If I was working and applying makeup every day, like going into the office, this thing would have been done months ago. For blush, I'm going to be using one of my absolute favorites, and it has been discontinued for quite a number of years now, but if you have it in your collection, pull it back out. It's wonderful. This is the Essence Silky Touch Blush in the shade Autumn Peach, and it's... Why can't I get this open? Ugh, please don't tell me I broke a nail. Okay, I'm fine. This is just a gorgeous color. It goes on so seamlessly. There's something about the tone of this one that's really flattering on me too. And I don't tend to overdo it on this one, which is not something I can generally say about blush. They discontinued these and then launched the Satin Touch blushes, and I never liked those as much as I like the Silky Touch ones. I ended up decluttering, I think, all of the Satin Touch ones, but I still have all of the Silky ones. And then for highlighter, I'm going to be using MAC's Whisper of Guilt. Okay, so to finish up the eyes, I'm going to put the purple shadows on the lower lash line, but I'm going to start with a pencil, and there is cat hair somewhere on my face. I found it. Let's pull my tweezers out and get it. That drives me nuts when it ends up in my foundation. Okay, anyway, this is the Revlon So Fierce Vinyl Eyeliner in the shade Powerful Plum. I'm just going to put that all along here and between my lashes. And then I'm going to go in with Jelly on a pencil brush and layer that on the inner half of the eye, the lower lash line that is. And then for the outer corner of the lower lash line, I'm taking Jammin'. But I like how that purple looks a lot more, so I'm going to take more of that one and layer it on top of the darker color. And repeat on the other eye. And one thing to note, whenever you make a mistake on one eye or you don't necessarily like what you did in order to get there, doesn't matter. On the other one, repeat the same step that you kind of screwed up on, because otherwise if you skip that step, the eyes just won't look the same. Seems fairly straightforward, but I feel like I would try to correct things before in my own eye makeup and then realize, I actually have to put the mistake in there. Okay, and the very last step is going to be taking Bananas and putting that on the inner corner of my eye. And I think I've successfully used every single color in this palette this time. Right then. Just putting that right in there and blend it up and then blend it down into the purple. I love this gold shade. It is so good. Alright, I'm going to finish up the eyes by applying some mascara. I'm using the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara, and then I'll be putting on some false lashes. They are the Life Lashes in the style number 3. And I'll be doing my brows with the IT Cosmetics Brow Power Pencil, following it up with the NYX Micro Brow in Taupe, just because I ran out of my Benefit one. And then following up the NYX pencil with the Benefit Gimme Brow in the shade number 2. Okay, last step is lips, and I've got 2 options here because I'm not sure which one's going to work out. I'm going to start with Bites Leche. This is in the Power Move Creamy Matte Lip Crayon format. Oh, I think that one's going to work. Perfect. The other option I had, by the way, just in case anyone's curious, is Bites Lit Turmeric, which I think is pretty, but a little bit more peachy than what I'm going for. Okay, so that is the finished look for the Too Faced Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. Seriously, I love this thing to death, and I usually end up making a look that looks pretty much like this just because I love incorporating the peanut butter side with the jelly side on top. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I do normally put the gold shade Bananas on the lid, and that makes a really good look, but I wanted to try something a little bit different this time. So that is going to be it for me. Thank you so much for joining me for week 30. I hope you're taking care, and I will see you next time. Bye.